You see? And we're going to just whip this up. And it will break down and be just the consistency of sour cream, which is what I love on fish. You don't you? I'm going to add a tiny smidgen of milk, maybe 2 tablespoons for a pound of cheese. Otherwise, it's going to be a little too thick. Here's a lid. Okay, let's do it. Swish that down a bit here. We're going to blend with this a bit of mayonnaise. There, we got it. Now it's going. This always works when I'm home alone, you see, but whenever you show up, I get into trouble. I can't understand it. There we go. It's talking. And you have something that is the consistency and the texture, but not the butterfat content of sour cream. You see? Isn't this marvelous? Now I'm going to add about, I had a pint in here, so I'm going to add about a cup to my bowl. And to that, I'm going to add then a bit of mayonnaise, and I'm using a 1/4 of a cup of mayonnaise, and I'm using low-cal mayonnaise, what they call imitation mayonnaise. It's nothing imitation about it. It simply means that it's not as high in fat content as the other mayonnaise that we normally buy. All right, now we need to add a teaspoon of dill weed. I love dill on fish. A little bit of dill weed. That's not quite a teaspoon. There it is. And here comes the clincher, a coarsely grated cucumber. Watch this one. And it's great fun. Just put it right in the old bowl. You're having a cucumber and dill sauce to go on our fish. You got the recipe now? We're going to add a little lemon juice too. We've got a cup of blended cottage cheese. We have a 1/4 cup of low-fat mayonnaise, a teaspoon of dried dill, a cup of coarsely grated, or at least 1 coarsely grated cucumber, and then we'll add a shot of lemon juice to liven it up a bit. And we have a colossal sauce. There. Let's try the lemon juice routine here. Okay. Oh, and some pepper, of course. Where's my old pepper grinder? Here we go. You've got to add a bit of pepper to this in order to make it sit up straight. You know what I mean? Okay. Pepper, lemon juice, cucumber, cup of mayonnaise, a cup of cottage cheese whipped down, 1/4 of a cup of low-cal mayonnaise, and a bit of dill, and you have a sauce that is just beautiful. There, you see? Very low fat, but it's exciting to eat this kind of thing. This is great on all sorts of meat products, and it's going to be terrific on our fish, which I'm going to haul out for you right this minute. I think it's about, oh, it's done. That's fine. That certainly didn't take long, did it, huh? Let's see, where's my serving platter? That's what I want. And a gentle strainer. You don't want to break this up. Take these pieces out very gently. You see, it's perfectly done. Just perfectly done. Oh. You know, if your kids don't eat fish, you have to figure out some new methods of exciting them. And I think this one will work. I really do. There we go. All right. Now, you can either serve... That's not very attractive, is it? We need some parsley on that platter. You can either serve this is a dish with the cucumber sauce right on the top, as I'm going to do now, or you can, of course, add it on the side. But I would like to spoon it on the top in a kind of a pattern right down the center here, and allow everyone to... It isn't fun to sit down and eat something that you know is legitimately good for you. It isn't loaded with salt and fat, and there's a good dish for you. Fish poached with cucumber and dill sauce. And it's inexpensive, too, and it's very good for you. I'm going to set this aside, and I'll show you another dressing I want you to try. Using the same kind of principle here, let's try a dressing using a bit of the same mixture. Find enough bowls here. Do you have the same trouble in your house? I never have enough bowls. I put them somewhere so I wouldn't forget them, and I've forgotten them. Let's try. Let's just mix it on a little platter here. I'm going to blend in to my... I have a good 1/2 cup of sour cream, mock sour cream remaining here. And I'm going to blend into that a bit of caper. You just do this to taste now. Don't worry about what I'm doing. a bit of French capers. See? And a tiny shot of Dijon mustard. You can use Grey Poupon. That's a classic one. There it is. You see a little bit of Dijon mustard. And now we need another shot of lemon juice. You see, lemon juice is very, very important to getting you off of salt. Blend this, and it's just great over the fish. Just terrific. There we go. Very different sauce from the first one. The first one is rather mild. This one will have a bit of additional flavor from the mustard and the capers. Terrific. And you'll never know that this is a low-calorie, low-salt, low-fat dish. You simply won't know. This could be spooned on another piece of fish. With a nice green salad, this makes a great luncheon, too, for some of your friends. And I don't want you to think that you're serving them inferior food because it's low salt, low fat. There's nothing inferior about it. This is great stuff. There it is, okay? Another garnish. That just looks terrible. A bit of garnish on this, and there we go. Parsley is important, you know. All right, let's put that one aside, and we've got some other things I want you to see, too. There we go. Fish is all over the place. Now, one more dish that I really urge you to try, and it's made of butter. I know that most of us are worried about butter content in our diet because butter, of course, is animal fat. You understand that the term cholesterol means animal fat. When someone sells you a jar of vegetable oil in the supermarket and it says contains no cholesterol, of course it doesn't contain any cholesterol. It's a vegetable oil. It doesn't contain any waffles either. You can't put all those things on the label. Animal fat is cholesterol. Vegetable fat is very, very low in its ability to create cholesterol in your system. But there is a way to use butter that is digestible. And what I'm going to do today is to take a pound of butter. I learned this from a physician in Seattle, and it really works. A pound of butter. I'm going to throw it into my meat machine here, a grinder. Add a cup of peanut oil, because peanut oil is very, very light. And we're going to blend this. Now, in order to make it digestible, that is to say the animal fat, I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of something called lecithin. Now, lecithin is a natural derivative of the soybean. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is a natural derivative of the soybean, and it allows your system to break down animal fat very quickly. So we have a marvelous mixture here. I don't want to give up butter, and I hate margarine. I'm convinced that a margarine that has been hydrogenated, you see, or put under enough pressure to make it solidify, is really no better for you than good butter. But this is making butter even better, so we're going to stick with that. And my physician agrees with me, all right? Here we go. Let's grind it up. And it'll be a little thin now, but once you put this back in the refrigerator and chill it, it will be perfectly good for spreads, and it'll hold up well, you see. There we go. We'll just let that. I lost a chunk there, didn't I? We'll just let that mix up. Take just a moment. There we go. Have your butter at room temperature. Mine was a little bit cold, and it didn't break up quick enough, but it's going fine now. There you are. Another thing you might do is to consider sautéing vegetables. For instance, I have 3 here that would be great in a sauté sauce, so that I could have something in the refrigerator that I could use as a seasoning whenever I find something on my table that's a little bland. So I would sauté a handful of chopped onion, a handful of carrots, and a handful of celery. Sauté this, just cook it down a bit with some olive oil and or some peanut oil if you prefer, and a bit of garlic. And then I would add a blend of herbs. And you can do anything you like. My blend consists of, I'm going to add this blend right to the pan. You see, my blend consists of a little bit of bay leaf, and then to my own taste, rosemary, sage, thyme, and marjoram. And of course some black pepper. And you will have a beautiful dish that can help you in the great battle against the salt and against the animal fat craze. You know, our heart, there, it's about done. I'll show you what we get here. There we are. Now, this has to beat a little bit more, but once you refrigerate this, it will be perfectly solid, just like butter. And it can be used for spreads. You can cook with it, do anything you want. It'll work out well. And it's much better for you than plain butter. Now, back to the heart routine. How much salt do we eat each year? I have 2 sons that mainline French fries. It's terrible for them on 2 counts. 1, they're eating too much salt, and 2, they're eating animal fat that has been heated to the point where it's beginning to burn. And we found now that heated animal fat is a carcinogen. That is to say, it probably causes cancer. So we have to be careful about buying those things. Now, someone is going to yell, gee whiz, I make French fries for a living. Well, if you make them carefully, that's fine. I would much rather bake mine in the oven than to deep fry them. That's why I tell my boys that they can have 1 package of French fries a month at their favorite drive-in. Every once in a while, you have to pork out. Every once in a while, you'll catch me in a great rib house here in Chicago, just gobbling up those pork ribs. But I don't do it very often. I do it rarely. Because last year, we consumed 15.5 pounds of salt per person in this culture. That is 6 times more salt than doctors figure our system can even handle. 6 times more than we can even handle. This year it's falling a bit. We're getting off salt, and I'm glad for that. Coronary disease kills off, literally, is responsible for the deaths of 53% of all of the people that die in our culture each year. 53%. Secondly, is everything else you can imagine. That's 23%. 6% accidents, and cancer is only 17%. 53% is due to heart disease. Now, we've got a serious problem on our hands. It comes about from an age of abundance. We love salt. We love fat. We don't want to give these things up. I don't know how to tell you about my love for schmaltz, for good kosher cooking, you see. But we've got to begin to understand that the buildup of salt and fat in our system is going to kill us off. We want to live to be old enough to watch our grandkids. Remember the line? And certainly our eating habits are the place where our longevity really begins. The 53% of people who die because of heart disease each year, coronary disease, can attribute their death to their diet. That's a terrible thing. So the next time you say to someone, I love you, eat. Be sure that you're saying, I really do love you. Don't eat that stuff. Eat this. Stay away from instant foods and prepared foods if you possibly can. Knock off the salt. And when you have a party, give all of your kids a hug, and your husband a hug too, and understand that the reason that you're feeding them is because you love them. You're not feeding them to try and kill them off. And the way we can do that is to cut down on salt and fat. So I prepared 3 dishes for you today. I have a dish of chicken with apricot glaze containing a little bit of dill and tarragon, a bit of wine and garlic. I have a poached fish dish with a cold cucumber sauce made of whipped up cottage cheese. And thirdly, I have a white fish with a tarragon, with a caper and mustard sauce. And finally, we talked about a mirepoix, and I did some butter for you. That's it. Keep cooking. It's important that we keep each other alive as long as possible and have a good time. I'm glad you're with me. Until we're together again, this is the Frugal Gourmet. I bid you peace. Bye-bye.